Hello and welcome everyone. We're here with Bow Live for Title Talk Thursdays. And we're here with John Iowanu from Florida Closing and Escrow. And he's going to be speaking on how to represent clients like a pro. Today's topic is closing costs. And you can ask any questions here or feel free to contact us. And as you know, Florida Closing and Escrow main office is in Sunny Isles, but we're mobile and we're wireless, remote, digital, have most languages, and have expert attorneys to assist you from contract to closing, as well as a highly experienced staff to help with your closing success. 1-800-FL-CLOSE, and we're going to start today with the presentation, and then I'm going to wrap up with some real estate news and marketing updates. So, John, let's begin.
Thanks, Cindy. Hi, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. Basically, we're going to talk today about closing costs briefly. We get a lot of questions from buyers and sellers and also their agents asking us what are the closing costs for this transaction. So where do we go to? The first place we go to is the contract. And I have a slide here, slide number 1, which is on page 4 of the contract at the top. And this is the area where you as a realtor check the box when preparing the contract. Who pays for what? So since we're in Miami-Dade and Broward, line 174 should be checked on the contract. Basically, what line 174 says is the buyer shall designate the closing agent and pay for the title insurance policy. It also says that the seller will pay for the tax search and lien search. Now, this is different from line 172, which basically says that the buyer shall pay for the title insurance and also pay for those charges, which include the tax search and lien search. So the difference between line 172 and 174 is the seller is paying for the tax search and lien search. Basically, those searches are around $200 each, so it's around a total of $400. So if you're representing a buyer, make sure to check off line 174 when you're in Miami-Dade and Broward. Now, the interesting part is the remaining parts of the state, the remaining counties, it's basically the seller chooses the title company and pays for the title insurance. So if you're outside Miami-Dade or Broward, you're going to be checking line 168 box, which basically says the seller pays and chooses. So those are the differences between who pays for what. Now we're going to go to slide 2, which is going to tell us exactly what a seller and a buyer are paying for. So this is on page 3 of the contract. It's under paragraph 9. Basically, it says, you'll see at the top there, closing costs, fees, and charges. So if a buyer does want to know exactly what they're paying for, direct them to this part of the contract. And we'll go through a couple of these and I'll explain what they are. So 9A, these are costs to be paid by the seller. So the first cost is the documentary stamp tax on a deed. Now, what is that? Basically, that's like a sales tax that a seller has to pay to the government. And in Miami-Dade, it's 0.6% of the sale price. And in every other county, it's 0.7% of the sale price. So basically, do the sale price, multiply it by 0.7%, and then that'll get your documentary stamp tax. Now, the next one is owner's policy and charges if paragraph 9CI is checked. And we just went through that. That's the box below that says the seller pays for the title policy and charges. Title search charges is a charge to the seller if paragraph 9C3 is checked. And that's the Miami-Dade Broward provision we just saw below. And also, as I mentioned, the municipal lien search is also a charge for the seller if paragraph 9C1 or 9C3 is checked. Also a charge to the seller is charges for FIRPTA withholding. If the seller is a foreigner, FIRPTA is required. That's the Foreign Investment in Real Property Tax Act. And the seller has to hire an accountant. They'll prepare some documents. That charge is around $1,000 to $1,500, depending on the accountant's fees. Also, you'll see to the right of Section 9A, additional charges to the seller, which is the HOA or Condominium Association Estoppel fees. These are always charged to the seller. And basically, these Estoppel fees are charged from the association for them giving us an estoppel, which tells us if there's any money owed to the association, any past dues, what the monthly charges are, and things like that. So those fees are usually around $200 to $300. Also, recording and other fees needed to cure title. If there's a mortgage and we need a satisfaction of mortgage or anything like that, those charges are around $20. Seller attorney's fees, that's also a charge to the seller. And anything else that needs to be included goes on that line there where you see other. So those are the costs to be paid by seller. Now we go to Section 9B, and these are the costs to be paid by buyer. Taxes and recording fees on notes and mortgages. So the seller pays the transfer tax on the deed. The buyer, if he's getting a mortgage, pays the taxes on the mortgage. And basically what that amount of tax is 0.55% of the loan amount. So that's a tax the government charges if a buyer gets a loan. Next cost of the buyer is recording fees for the deed and financing statements. For the deed, it's usually 3 pages, and that's around $30. Owner's policy and charges, that's a title insurance premium. Now, this isn't a fixed amount. This amount is given to us by the Florida Department of Insurance. It's a promulgated rate depending on what the purchase price is. So there's no flat rate, but this charge is charged to every title company in the state of Florida. It's a standard fee that all title companies have to charge. So there's no difference between one title company and the next. This is an amount that's given to us that we have to charge. So if you need an exact amount on the title insurance policy, feel free to contact me or anyone at the office, and we'll give you that number. Next cost to a buyer is the survey. These are required by lenders, and also if a flood policy is required, then an elevation certificate is required along with the survey. Surveys cost around $200 to $300. Lenders title policy endorsements or any additional lender endorsements must be paid by the buyer. Line 152 says HOA or Condominium Association application and transfer fees. So obviously, if there's an application fee, that needs to be paid by the buyer up front. Transfer fees, some associations charge a transfer fee for them to transfer their records to the new buyer. Sometimes that's around $100 to $150. Line 153, municipal lien search. This is charged to the buyer if paragraph 9C2 is checked, as we talked below. Line 154, where it says other, this is a good spot to put broker processing fees. You want to make sure you have it in writing somewhere. You can either put it here or in the additional terms section. But if you're representing a buyer, you're going to want to put that in the contract somewhere. So when you get to closing, the buyer says, hey, I didn't agree on this $399 or $275 processing fee. And you can point them kindly to the contract and say, well, actually, it's here on line 154. So that's a good spot to put the broker processing fee. Continuing on, we go to the right side of paragraph 9B, cost to be paid by buyer, loan expenses. So whatever the lender is charging to get the loan, those are buyer fees. Appraisal fees, if the appraisal needs to be done, sometimes appraisal fees need to be paid up front. So that's handled by the buyer. And of course, buyer inspection fees. If buyer's going to do an inspection, which I highly recommend, buyer has to pay for the inspection fees. Buyer attorney's fees, if there are any. All property related insurance. So if you're going to get insurance on the property, that needs to be paid by the buyer. And then of course, the title insurance policy if 9C3 is checked. So that's it for closing costs. First, we go to the top of page 4 to find out who pays for what. And then we go to the bottom of page 3 to find out exactly who's paying for what. If you want an exact list from us, please feel free to email me, and I'll be happy to prepare a quote. But just send me the contract so I know what's checked off and the amounts of the purchase price and whatnot. So those are the closing costs. Thanks for your time, and I'll turn it back over to Cindy.
Okay, thank you, John. And our policy, of course, is to help you to close more deals and to work with you on the cost. If there's ever any question, kindly let us know. Okay, and now I just wanted to mention a few tech companies that have popped up due to this crazy market. As you know, Miami's been on fire. Everyone is moving here in droves. And one of the companies that's a startup is called Drop Offer, that connects agents with off-market properties. It helps to coax more homeowners to list their properties or to sell off-market. These companies collect data and leverage their own private marketplaces to connect the buyer with reluctant sellers, or lure home owners to list with less headache and more reliable terms. So this can be a windfall for investors because it frees up a new class of inventory. So that's one of the companies that has popped up. Another one is a showing app. If you're too busy and you cannot show your properties, there are apps for that where you could pay somebody to do the showing for you. So you could contact me for details about these services as well as BOW services. We have live broadcast opens and tours. We also can create virtual opens and tours for you. You could send us pictures from your cell phone or professional pictures, and we could put a presentation together and save you time and money doing it for you and create novel opens with creative effects. So these are some tools, which is good. Also, people have some concern still of going to opens because of COVID concerns. Even though the numbers have decreased, there are some people that prefer to do things live or online or not come here to see the properties. And as you know, many people are still buying sight unseen, and there are still bidding wars going on. John, if you have any comments about what you're seeing with the market?
Yeah, it's everyone knows it's a seller's market right now. There are concessions that buyers are going to have to make. Just try not making too many of them. I know there are some that have to reduce the inspection period. Try not to do a 0, at least 3 or 5, just maybe giving your buyer potential out there. Be careful with the financing contingency. Lenders are super swamped right now, so put at least 30 if you can get away with it. 45 would be great. And then, yeah, cash offers are the ones that seem to be winning a lot here. So if you have a buyer, you might want to consider speaking to them about making a cash offer. They can still get a loan, but sellers are looking for the basically cash buyers. It's a crazy time. It's a good time for sellers. If you have listings, congratulations, good for you. If you have buyers, keep looking out there. We're still getting contracts coming in daily, so there are movements, there are still listings, there are still things going available for sale. So keep working hard, and I'm sure you guys will do great.
I wanted to mention also, Miami got rated as the worst or least affordable state in the country, and you have to be prepared to pay 60% of your paycheck for rentals now. They're hard to find, and so, you know, as our listings, but the rates of the rentals are increasing faster here than anywhere in the country. So if you can afford to buy, you know, that would be the best course of action. And, you know, prices have been increasing. year over year, they've increased 19.2% annually, which is the fourth largest jump in the index that evaluates it in the 35-year history of them keeping track. So we still are very busy, a lot of movement, and everyone seems to want to come to Florida. So we're here to help you with your closing and title needs. And we have expert attorneys here and expert staff and expert marketing tools to assist you. So we hope to see you soon, and we will also give you more updates for Title Talk Thursdays, and we'll give you brief snippets of information, and you can always feel free to contact us as well. Thank you. Cindy Mirpo with BowLive.net, and with Florida Closing and Escrow, John Iowanu, and we have other experienced attorneys and excellent staff, multilingual. Thank you for joining us.